my name is Drew. I am with Hollywood's Haunted Tours. I am one of the guides, and due to COVID-19, we unfortunately cannot do any of our tours. But instead of depriving you of these fun stories, we decided we would go ahead and bring the tour to you. So all of us here at the tour are going to be doing our own videos about different stories that we usually talk about on the tour. So for my video, I decided I'd like to talk about the theater, the El Capitan, or the El Cap for shorthand, which I, by habit, always say. So the story of the El Cap starts in 1926. That's when it officially opened, and it was designed by a man named Charles E. Toberman. Now you probably don't know him by name, but you are probably familiar with some of his projects because he's the one that was also in charge of the Chinese theater and the Egyptian theater, among 36 other projects. So the El Capitan is a very beautiful theater, although I will say there is one flaw that Charles made when creating this theater, and that is he actually designed it to be a stage play theater in Hollywood in 1926 when the film industry is booming. So it wasn't the smartest move because it wasn't very successful because no one was going to Hollywood to see a stage play. It was not doing so hot financially for a good hot minute, couple of decades, and then we get to 1941. The theater was actually approached by a man that said, hey, I made this movie, it's about this media mogul, it's very controversial, no one wants to show it, you guys aren't doing so well, would you guys be open to showing it? And they said, what do we have to lose, why not? So for one night, and one night only, the El Capitan set up a screen and a projector and they showed the movie Citizen Kane. It was wildly successful, so much so that the El Cap actually decided to permanently stay as a movie theater. Fun fact, there was a department store on top of the El Cap. It is now a bunch of offices for Jimmy Kimmel execs, so, you know. And then in 1992, Disney got ownership of the El Capitan and they premiered their ownership by showing the movie The Rocketeers. So now that we have a general history of the El Cap, now we can get more into the mystery. To talk about this, I have 3 stories for you that we like to talk about on the tour. The stories actually go backwards chronologically, but 2 of the stories actually take place within the Disney era, so these are relatively recent occurrences. The first story that I like to talk about is super cut and dry, very quick. This actually happened during the Mighty Ducks. This happened during the Mighty Ducks 2 premiere, and what had happened was there was a man that was sitting in the matinee, and he got up in the middle of the movie and just shot himself in the head. That's it. That's literally the whole thing. Insert joke about sequels here. So his presence can still be felt very strongly in the theater within that very specific area in the matinee. There has been a lot of cold spots reported. So unfortunately, the second story that we go into is a lot more tragic due to the fact that it has to do with the life of a child. So the story goes like this. It was during one of Disney's premieres with all the little characters and everything, and what they used to do for all the kids that were sitting up on the balcony level, they would encourage them to come closer to the railing so they could actually see the stage and see all the characters doing their performances. So of course it takes the one kid that goes a bit too fast and too far to ruin that for everybody. This happens to a little girl. Unfortunately, she just went too fast and went over the railing. She tried to grab onto one of the stage lights to stop herself from falling. Instead, she grabbed her mother's hair. She yanked a chunk out and fell to her death. It is a very tragic story, and it definitely still haunts the theater to this day. Her presence is felt very strongly, especially among women. A lot of people run out of the theater in the middle of movies reporting of someone pulling on their hair. So after such a heavy story, we like to lighten it up a little bit by going way back in time all the way to 1932 to talk about another spirit that's probably my favorite on the whole tour, and he's been named Frank. I feel like this ghost has a bit more of a prankster vibe rather than a vengeful spirit kind of vibe. Now there's no record officially of a man named Frank working for the theater, but we'll just go with Frank anyway. So the story goes that there was a theater manager that was closing up shop one night, and then the theater got broken into. There were burglars, robbers, whatever you want to call them, and they knew where they could find the money. They knew it was going to be in the manager's office. So they make their way up to the manager's office, and Frank knows he's in trouble. So he locks himself in there for protection, and he thinks he's fine until the burglars start to pick the lock, and they actually do it successfully, almost opening the door until Frank locks it right back on them. And then they pick it again a little bit, and then he locks it on them. This goes on back and forth for, I've heard, to up to an hour. It is a long time of just lock, unlock, lock, unlock. Unfortunately, they do get to him. They open the door and they shoot poor Frank dead. He likes to make his presence known specifically to the employees of the El Cap by locking people indoors whenever he feels like. This is actually such a common occurrence to the employees of the El Cap that they are given walkie-talkies whenever they have to go check on something by themselves for the inevitable time that Frank will lock them in a room by themselves. I'm sure it's not fun when you're there by yourself, but it just sounds hilarious from an outside point of view, so I'm sure we can appreciate it. That's the story of Frank. It's definitely one of my favorites, and that's actually the story we used to close all of this about the El Capitan. So it's definitely a rich little building, has lots of history, as well as many other of the places in Hollywood, as I'm sure you could check out in our other videos. Thank you so much for watching this short little video about the El Capitan. If you liked it, please check out the rest of the channel. You can look at other cool history videos about Hollywood, and I'm sure we'd love to see you when the tours come back as well. Keep an eye out on our website. We may be switching to another format as well, so you can continue to get some of these good spooky stories. Bye!
If you like that video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can be alerted to new videos as they arrive. For more information on Hollywood's Haunted Tours, visit hollywoodshaunted.com. See you in your nightmares.